Welcome back to the Center for Equus Coaching. We're a community of coaches who believe that partnering with horses can help transform the way we connect with ourselves, others, and the world around us. My name is Travis Stock, and I'm one of the instructors for the Center for Equus Coaching. I've got one of our most recently certified Equus coaches to introduce you all to today. Koko Wolfe is a certified Equus coach, animal and spirit communicator, and soulful guide who helps her clients awaken to the light within and anchor to the wholeness inherent in each of us. So, without further ado, thanks for joining me, Koko.
Oh, hi. That was lovely. Thank you, Travis.
You're so welcome. When I was kind of looking at the way you describe the work you do, I was just really like feeling great about that languaging of like anchoring into that wholeness that you invite people into, that we remember that it's always been a part of us, that there's not something that we need to like gain. It's always been there. It's about just like remembering that it's there.
Yes, exactly. You got it.
It's often what I'm working with my clients around is how to remember who we came in this world to be rather than who we learned we needed to be in order to survive or to belong or something like that. It's like
Yeah.
come back to that innocence, to that authentic being that came into this world with a mission and with its own mission.
Yes, exactly. Precisely. And the joy that's in that. Yeah.
Mm, beautiful.
Mm, mm.
Well, let's learn a little bit about your journey to Equus coaching. As I sort of shared in the intro, you've got some other parts of your work, but I want to find out how you got to Equus coaching. Where did you find out about the Center for Equus Coaching, and how did you decide, oh, yeah, I'm doing that?
There's a woman named Wendy Millett who's up in Northern California. And she so I was really into regenerative agriculture and especially the horses and how the horses played into it was like the herd above the ground. And then I imagine the microbes were like the herd below. And I was really into it. So equine permaculture, all that just like lights me up. So I met this woman with Tomcat Ranch, and she also has a side business called Gallop Ventures. So she has executives come in and she works with the horses, similar to what we do. And I was talking to her about horses one day, and she said, You've got to meet Coel. Have you heard of Coel Simpson? And I was like, oh, she keeps coming up. I need to look this. She goes, I just see you doing her program. And so I felt into it. I really wanted to. I was in love with her right away when I did the research. And I just wasn't quite, something in me was just like, it's not yet. Like, for sure
Totally.
it's going to happen. It's just not yet. You'll know when. And so I waited, and every year reassessed it. Wasn't yet. It just was this something in your body, that was just not yet. Keep waiting. The right time's coming. And so 10 years later, I was giving a reading. It was psychic mediumship. And there was this moment where she really wanted her husband to do a session. She had done it. It was so beneficial for her. But I could feel, because psychically you can feel like, okay, yeah, he probably would. But it felt like he needed something more grounding, something more embodying because of the traumas and things like that. And I got off the call with her, and immediately I felt that ping. Now is the moment. And I got
Wow.
why, because it was like so I was really used to being a messenger for people. But then I loved, because with Equus coaching, it's like you're just holding space so people can tap into that for themselves. Now they're the messenger for themselves and for their life, but it's happening in a way that's also facilitating healing and grounding and embodiment. And so it was actually him who, that moment of yes. So he was my first session when I got going. And I said, thank you so much. It was actually you. And so he just feels honored by that. And, he wanted to be a firefighter, and now he's in all the emergency rescue. And so he keeps coming back as a repeat client, and his sessions are free forever because I just feel so much gratitude. And so it's been this incredible, co-creation. Yeah.
What a cool full circle moment to have.
Yeah.
You were tracking this for a long time. 10
Yeah.
years is quite a long runway. And I find it's interesting. A lot of people in our community, they find out about this work, and there's a timeline between when they find out and when they're able to start. And they say like, I've been wanting to do this for many years and it just hasn't felt right until now. And then they're in
Yes.
it. And so your story is like so reminiscent of a lot of stories I hear in our community where you're ready, you think you're ready, but you're not ready, and then all of a sudden you're ready, and then now you're doing it. And I love that you got that full circle moment with the guy that finally helped you see now was the time for you. And I really enjoy the way you were talking about how the work you were doing before, sort of being a spirit communicator, allowed you to connect spirit wise, a little bit less here on the ground, a little different plane of communication and access. And you went, okay, but some people in their journey of healing are going to need and want something a little more grounded, that are going to
Mhm.
want to access something here on this earth, on this terrain. And that Equus coaching these big bodied animals was the invitation for you to go, oh yeah, there it is. That's the connection between earth and spirit right there in that one
Yes.
being.
Yes, precisely. That's exactly right. And it's just so cool because when you reflect on it, it's like ever since I was little, I spoke with animals, like communicated. It was this communion. I'd even call it, yeah, more something of that. And it was always, telepathic and really clear. And I've always felt this destiny with horses. But it just like there was all these pieces. And then in the Equus coaching, all parts of myself just coalesced and to be able to
Mm,
be of service in this way. And so it feels like this beautiful bridge between like, yeah, the ethereal and the earth, and it's all happening on this plane in
mm,
the presence of these beings and their hearts and their breath. And it all just merges into that, beautiful, remembered, innate oneness that we all share.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you started the program in 2024?
hmm Yeah.
Yeah,
Fall
okay.
2024.
And you're just recently finished with certification, that's
Yep.
true?
Just finished a few months ago. So what was that in, when was, yeah, just finished. Yeah. In November.
Congratulations, by the way. That's
Thank
so
you.
exciting. Tell me a little bit about what your experience was going through the Equus coaching course, the sort of the little bit longer than a year-long process it was from when you started to when you got certified.
Oh man. Wow. Oh, so many things come up, like, immediately. It just kinda comes in from all directions. Because on a personal level, it was transformative. It
Mm,
was extraordinary, like, you can't it's like I think a part of you knows it will be, but you're not
mhm.
sure in what capacity. Um, it really I felt a lot more embodied and able to connect with humans, which was such a gift because for me, children and animals and nature are easy, you know, but
Yeah.
humans have always had a like adults, I should say, adults have always had a harder time. So
Mm,
entering into a group, you're on your first on-site and now you're here with all these humans and all these dynamics, and you're on a ranch on top of it where all these other dynamics are happening. It was just this doorway in to really be able to develop that and connect with that. And at first it felt rocky for sure. It did.
ah.
And I felt it felt rocky for sure. And I thought maybe I'll just hang out with the horses. 'Cause that's like what I've always done, and then I was like, "No, no, this is because 'cause I've always felt, I think, like, the wounded healer in me, this part where I'm really here to help with healing for humans, for horses, and for the planet, like, that's where that regen ag and the equine permaculture comes in, and it's like I had the horse part and the planet part, but, the human part for me, I love to go deep, but I also stay just kind of, like, brief.
Mm,
So, when you go on the on-sites, it's depth. And it's lots. It's the days are long, right, as you know, and it's one after the other, and I went from slightly dreading it to then just loving it. And so now, so it was wonderful. It was uncomfortable, but it was huge growth, and it's connected to what I'm gonna continue doing more of, which is engaging with, like this, doing this
Yeah.
conversation together. Yeah.
I'm really glad you gave voice to what was real for you, the discomfort
Mhm.
in that. And I
Yeah.
because I don't think that you're the only one that experiences that when they go into interactions with other adult humans.
Yeah.
Human relationships are tricky sometimes, and we live in a world right now that feels very divisive, that can feel
Yeah.
really challenging, and I don't know that everybody always feels safe or trusts or has a desire to continue going to the depths with other people. So thank you for voicing that that wasn't an easy step for you, because I think that gives permission for others to know, like, yeah, it might not be easy. It might be uncomfortable, but
Mhm.
there can be really beautiful things that come out on the other side when we're willing to take the risk to show up in a space, to have, especially, I think it's nice in our work, we have the horses there to help be sort of a bridge for us.
Yeah,
and
totally.
and a horse ranch to be a place of like, okay, as long as I have all of these creatures around me, I'm good. And then I'll figure out the humans as we go.
Yes, you just got it, and I think that that's part of why the Equus is so wonderful. Well, for all of us, I would say everyone, everyone do it, but especially, like because So I'm highly sensitive and empathic, and because of that psychic piece, like, sometimes I can turn it on, sometimes I just it's just on, you know?
Mm,
So I think that's always where it was difficult with humans, because you 'cause you're just getting so much sensory, so much, extrasensory perception. So with horses and nature and children, you can feel that harmony really easy, but adults are so dynamic, and we've all, well, I can't say we all have, but a lot of people have had wounds, over
mhm,
time. And so sometimes those come up when we're nervous or anxious, like all these things, it kind of like creates, so it just makes it can make it feel a little messy, and you're not really sure where the map is, but you just keep going with it, and then you find that harmony. And
mhm.
then it connects to what you're talking about, the remembering, and then we can really start seeing each other like all the way through and connecting from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're pointing to an important piece that we really are intentional about trying to create with our training is that we're not just a training that's about the skill set, we're also about the
Yeah.
community.
Yes.
And so we are building a space for us to rework through all of those wounds that we've all picked up on in our relationships with other human beings.
Yeah.
And, I heard you kind of hedging, like maybe not everybody has some of those wounds. I don't think you get through this life being unscathed. I'm just going to go ahead and go on record and say I think we all do have those wounds, and they're unique and different. And
Yeah.
some of us have shared and similar ones, but I don't think you make it through this world without having some sort of wounding.
Yeah.
And this can be a space where we can look at that, where we can tend to it, where we can have
Mhm.
new experiences that support new associations and new patterns with human beings. And so
Yeah.
I just appreciate you sharing about your own sort of journey with that, because it gives a model that it can get better and we can find more ease and more gentleness and more sweetness in the relationships with the humans. We just need to do it in very intentional spaces.
Oh, I really love that. I really love that. And as you're speaking and I'm listening, I'm thinking, like I went in like with that ping to be of
Mm,
service, and the horse is inevitable. Love them. But what I ended up out of it was like all this community that I am just so in love with. And so I'm just like, it feels like kind of, like finding your tribe, finding your herd. So I'm really
yeah.
grateful to be part of it.
And I really
Mhm.
get the sense that people feel the same way about you too.
Yeah.
People enjoy you and are so glad that you're in their herd.
Oh, thank you.
Was there a specific moment or a specific part of the training that helped you the most when it came to sort of shifting this pattern for yourself around being with other humans?
Felt like it was just the showing up, like
Mm,
everybody just showing up every day. Cause, in the round pen, like things would come up or throughout the day, like it just was inevitable. But everybody just kept showing up. No matter what happened, everyone showed up day after day, and there was something in that I feel like it was just as simple as that. Is that everyone kept bringing the awareness and the attention to be aware and to be more conscious, and so it's like love. Love just kept showing up. We just all kept leaning in towards that love, towards more understanding, and just keep showing up. And that for me was it. And
mm,
then, as you do that and you keep doing that, then you get to start seeing it's like more layers of the onion get peeled and you
yeah.
keep getting to the core of each other. And then those relationships really start to deepen. And now you
Mm.
found, all these beautiful friends. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me because it's what the horses show us all the time. It's
Mhm.
not really about a skill. The belonging doesn't come from a skill
Mhm.
necessarily. It comes from showing up.
Yeah.
A horse herd, they belong because they keep showing up every day with each other.
Yeah.
They're not practicing how to belong. They just belong in their herd with each other. And
Mhm.
yes, there's conflict, and yes, there's power dynamics, and yes, there's things that come up within a herd, but
Yeah.
continuing to show up is what makes the herd.
Yes, yes, and, like, I mean, you make me think about so, like, at Raining Grace, just there a few days ago, and they're all feeding, and they're all sharing these bins, and it's, like, especially you watch the domestic horses,
Mhm.
new personalities start to come around them on this one food they get that day, and so you watch them, like, kinda, like, buzz each other off a little bit or, a bite or a kick or something like that, but then they don't, like you don't watch those 2 go through the rest of the day, like, begrudged with each other. They're just,
Yeah.
like it's just fun. It's very, like it's just very clear, like, "That was a little too in my space. Alright, I'll
Uh-huh.
back off. We're
Yeah.
good."
The beautiful part about horses that is it makes them such a powerful partner in the work that we do
Yeah.
is they don't live in story. So they might
Yeah.
have a moment where they communicate something like that and then they move on. They don't sit there and talk about each other and gossip about each other about how, did you see when that other horse got in my space? They don't do any of that.
Can you believe the nerve?
Yeah, exactly. The way we as humans would say those
Yeah.
things. And so
It's,
they're really beautiful
um,
partners because
yeah.
once the moment is done, they shift into another moment and then we get to experience what that moment is
Yeah.
about. And so there's a freedom in that they can model for us. For those of you who are listening and don't know what she's talking about when she says Raining Grace is one of the ranches we partner with out of Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's one where we hold some of our on sites. So you recently are a certified Equus coach.
Mhm.
Tell me about what your early Equus coaching experiences with clients have been like.
They've been awesome. They have been awesome. I'm like every day I go to get ready, it's like this surge of joy. And then when I show up and I'm there with them, it's just more joy and more joy and more joy. And even in the quiet, contained moments, just this river of joy. And I just feel um, it's incredible. It's like you show up, no expectation, just pure authenticity. And then you're just there with heart. You're just
Mhm,
there to be of service. And that's like, I can't explain. It's like this love, this joy, this presence all just flows through. And everyone is receiving exactly what they need in the moment. And I do think it's incredibly magical to witness because it's without a doubt magic. And
mhm,
so it's been incredible. I can't believe, especially there's one horse they work with a lot and partner with. And Caspian, he's so dynamic and his personality is, he's ex racehorse, thoroughbred, just dynamite. But every time I watch him show up with someone, like that's going to make me cry. How does he do it? Every time he shows up exactly as that person is intending and needing and in the energy and it just blows me away.
yeah.
And so, yeah.
This
So,
many years
wow.
in,
Mhm,
I often
mhm.
think to myself, "Wow, I couldn't script that even if I tried.
No,
That this
exactly.
is magic." Like, what?
Yes.
I, like,
Yes.
look at people
And
around me going like, "What?" And I've been doing this for, 13 years now, and I'm still like, "Wow, how is it possible that that just happened?" Because it doesn't seem like it could be possible, and yet I just witnessed it with my own eyes.
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from like exactly what you're saying, but then also watching like the hawks will show up
Mhm,
and the way that they dance into the moment or the way the wind moves and knocks down, the lead rope. Look what it, and someone was just talking about their grandfather who passed.
mm,
I mean, it's just like it becomes this magical realm we enter that's always there.
mm,
But because we're creating like the space and the time to really be in it, so, yeah, they've
beautiful.
just each one's been awesome, and I did do one with a couples recently,
Uh-huh.
and I really liked that. I mean, I
Oh,
love them
say
all and the
more.
young adults, but so when they showed up, it's like they're together, and I know they're in love, but, they're not holding hands, and you can kind of see, like, through the unseen, like, there's a bit of a something there between them, and they show up and it's going really well, but when they go to do the herding exercise, um, together just to watch them come closer and closer and their communication get clearer and clearer and the bonding that happens. And then, they merge with the horse and then the hand on the horse, it's like all duality dissolves. And you just feel like you're in this shared breath of oneness. And the love is just grown so much. So when they leave, now they're like holding hands, they're like laughing. So it gives me chills just thinking about it because you're basically just magnifying love and bringing more love into each other's hearts and then into the world. And like, what could be better than like sending more love into the world?
You've just described it perfectly. Like, what could be better than that?
Yeah.
I think that's something important that I haven't really talked about in these conversations is Equus coaching is really good for individuals. We've also talked a little bit about how it works within like corporate or nonprofit leadership teams, but
Mhm.
this piece that you're bringing forward is the relationship development, the a couple. There's something about going through a shared experience that is very relational, like Equus coaching. You're in relationship with another being, having that shared experience, having that shared moment within the electromagnetic field of that horse's heart in nature. There's something about that that can be really affirming and really reconnective within relationships. Doesn't mean that Equus coaching can't support the tough parts of relationships where
Mhm,
there's conflict and where there's
mhm,
challenge and hurt feelings and all that stuff.
yeah.
But being in that space really does serve to reconnect something that's below the words, that's really within the relationship itself. How did the horse show up in a in a couple session?
Oh, man, so it was really great because the first, the husband was, he's a good seasoned horseman, and I presented, we have these long lines. You can use them, not use them, whatever you feel inspired to. She didn't want to use it, didn't feel drawn to using it. He definitely wanted to use it. So he went out there with this like idea of herding and he's really putting the energy into it. And Caspian is like having none of it, not interested, you know? So it took like a number of times and you could feel the man's getting a little bit like, wait, like I can do this. I know how to do this. What is happening here? He like did not want to give up though. But you could feel like that last try where you could feel it in his heart of just like where he wasn't doing it to get the horse, but he merged with the horse in a moment. You just energetically feel that click, which is incredible because there's no just big lights going off, but you can all feel that click. And then it worked and Caspian sent off. He went all over all their obstacles they intended because they set it up before their idea of what they wanted to do. And then their idea was, the husband would bring him to one point and then the wife would take off from there. And it was incredible because she had taken the long line because, her husband's like, she took it anyway, but she didn't want to originally use it. She ended up not using it. She didn't need to use it. The horse walked right up to her and they just walked side by side along all the obstacles they intended. And then they ended at the spot, which was the mounting block. And they were each standing on one side of the horse and they each had a hand on his neck. And it was just this beautiful moment. Caspian kind of leaned in and it was like this little momentary hug. And everyone's just smiling because one, they did it. But two, they also got to reopen their eyes to each other's gifts because where a little bit of the rub was that they each wanted to go about life in a different way that was natural to them. But sometimes, it's like, well, you know, who's gonna rather than leading, like how do we walk side by side in that? And how do you be you and show up with all your gifts? Really, they got to see each other and appreciate each other and their gifts. And it was like each person got to utilize what is innate to them and they've worked out together as a team. So yeah.
That feels really powerful, that languaging around like remembering each other's gifts and relationships.
Yeah.
Living with people, co-parenting, living life, trying to figure out your finances. There's like so many parts of life that can create mundaneness, friction, challenges in relationships, and they when we get stuck in those, we forget to remember each other's gifts. And I
Yes.
love this sort of remembering that was created in that moment with a horse. It's like they're in some random situation out there in a horse ranch, putting their hand on a horse, and all of a sudden, yet they can see each other more clearly. They can remember what they love about each other. They can remember what they fell in love with each other about, those
Yeah.
original gifts. I love that concept and how healing that can be is to like, oh, yeah, there you are. I see you again. I forgot.
Yeah.
I wasn't seeing you quite right. I was seeing you through a distorted funhouse mirror. Now I see you correctly.
Yes, and I love you. And then it's like
Mm,
the holding hands, and then it's like you're feeling the love not just emanating out of their eyes. I mean, it's literal light. Like they are just lit up. You see the light coming out of their eyes, and you're like, wow, they are just shining. And then right above him is this pair of hawks that shows up, and they're like dancing together in the sky, and we're all in awe of it. And then it was this moment where one of the hawks departed and went dive bombing down to get the food, and the other one stayed hovering, like observing. I was like, it was very clear, but I'm not going to assume. I said, so we're looking at them, and which hawk do you identify with? And of course,
mm,
Alex is like the one who's like diving down to go get the food, and the wife just kind of she wants her strength is to hover, to see the big picture, to hold that space and that higher perspective and the vision, and then kind of point to the vision, and then Alex goes and does it. And it was
mhm.
just beautiful because the hawks reflected exactly that. So in that, you just feel like all of the source of love in the universe is just with you in that moment dancing.
Wow, Coco, we're gonna have to update your titles to Equus and Hawk Coach.
That's really fun. Oh.
But
Yeah.
that points to
Mhm.
what this work is all about. So much of it involves metaphor and being able to like sink into relationships, sink into presence with another being, to move within that relationship and see what does that have to tell me about what's playing out in the rest of my life, or
Yes.
what does that have to tell me about myself or my partner. And so even that moment with the hawks could have been easily missed, but there's this sort of co-creation with the universe playing out where they can re-see each other,
Yeah.
re-see each other's gifts, and allow each other to have those gifts, not to get in the way of them, but to go, oh, I'll hold this part, you hold this part. That's how our flow works.
And then they soar together, and I just have to say, because, I mean, so when he showed up, he had a feather in his hat.
Uh,
She had a hat, no feather, but at the end, and the hawks and the whole horse thing and everything, and, uh, and we're just like, "Wow," and it felt like they were like, "We're soaring, we're flying together." And we go to sit back down where their water bottles were and where we had started at the table, and there's this feather right there for her.
you're
And so he
kidding.
put it in her hat, and now they both are leaving with these hats with the feathers, and they're soaring and they're flying, and I mean, still, like, I'm just in, like, I don't know, goosebumps, you know?
Uh-huh.
It's
Okay,
just the
it's that
coolest
magic
full
you talked
circle.
about before.
It's the magic. I mean,
It's
it
the
is
magic.
magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't script it. I can't bring in those props. I don't have a
Yeah.
little secret team, you know? It's just it's really well, I guess we do have a team. We
Uh-huh.
do have a team. But, I mean, it was remarkable.
What's
Yeah.
clear to me is how much joy you bring
Mhm.
to all of this.
Absolutely. Years prior to all this, I was, like, definitely traveling around the world a lot, and, met some really incredible characters, and one person told me once, JOB represents joy of being. I was like, "Oh, wow, I really love that." So, like, whatever job you're doing, like, make sure that's your joy of being. And so I've
Mm.
touched into that every now and then. Like, I worked with a private middle school, and I would go, like, do surf team, and so we'd be up and watch the sunrise, and I thought, "Wow, I cannot believe I'm getting paid to surf with a bunch of kids and watch the sun." That was a joy of being
Uh-huh.
for me, you know? And I've had a lot of moments of that, and, like, mothering, definite joy of being. And then when connecting with spirit, I feel those pieces too, but the Equus by far just this like pull. There's this beautiful quote, something about if you do things from your soul, you feel a river flowing through you, a joy. And that's what I feel. It's this river flowing through you and a joy. And it's like all parts of yourself. It's like the writer in me, the medium in me, the animal communicator, the one who just loves to really just show up and hold space, so that whatever needs to happen can happen there. And it's just joy. It's just joy, 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 joy of being. I
Mm.
mean, I could go on and on. I love collecting quotes about it, like joy is the infallible sign of God, like all these things of just, that's it. And you feel that spark. And
Mhm.
when you talk to someone who's in joy, they're lit up.
Mhm.
That's your soul from within. We come here, and that's part of it too. I remember life before Earth, and I remember us being these sparkling beings of light. And then we incarnate into all these forms. But you can also see when you're just in the light, you see all these different characteristics kind of flashing beneath the surface of all these different lifetimes and incarnations we've been, which is why for me it feels so silly when there's any judgment of any kind. But also, it's sad, but it's also silly because you're like, we're all just made of light, and you've been that same color before, and you've been that same this and that. So it just makes it kind of like silly, like, but you see that light up, and I love being in the arena or in the field or in a round pen with the horse, and you watch that light come on. It's
Mm.
like it's there, but then it just boom, and someone has that epiphany or that enlightened moment, and it just is beautiful to watch.
The way
It's a
you
joy.
describe it is so similar to how I feel about Equus coaching. I didn't feel like I chose Equus coaching. It showed up in my life in a way that I was not planning for, and yet the second I experienced it, I went, "Whoa," and I just had to be a part of it, and I had to follow that track. And like you were saying about when you were teaching like surfing school, like I often say to my fellow instructors or co-facilitator at a workshop, can you believe we get paid to do this? I'm like
Yeah.
sitting on a horse ranch, just hanging out, just like having the best time. I
Yeah.
feel that joy in my being also when I
Yes.
get to do this job. And so I find that there are a lot of people out there in the world who are doing a job that doesn't have as much joy of being in it. that are
Yeah.
seeking more of that meaning in their work, that
Mhm.
want to feel that joy of being in their work. And I don't know, Coco and I might be biased, but we would say that there's a really good version of it in Equus
Yeah.
coaching that's available, where you get to be connected to other people. You get to be a part of supporting and transforming people in their relationships, but you also just get to hang out with horses. You also get to be outside. You also get to watch two people soar together in their relationship once they've been able to do something with a horse. Like, it's just such a cool version of work that we get to offer.
It's dynamite. It blows me away that it even exists, you know?
Mhm,
It's like that we get and we get to do it. I saw something on Instagram about Jim Carrey was talking about, like, I hope that people want to like get a bunch of money and a bunch of fame and like that's their dream and then it all comes true for them. I hope it all does so that then they can realize like that's not the answer.
mhm,
Because if you're doing something motivated by prestige or shoulds or money, but you just feel kind of dead inside, think there's just not that light, that joy, then it's like something to reconsider because you are
mhm,
here for as long as you are. And it's not that you won't have other lifetimes, but for this moment in time, and because you get it's not your one shot, like, it's not your only chance, so why not just, like, really live it from your soul? Because you are a soul in this body, right? So, it's got to be led by the soul.
amen. Love that. Do you have any upcoming offerings or any ways that you're sharing Equus coaching in the near future that you wanna highlight for those that are listening?
Yeah, so just being new to it, I'm just offering it to everyone, and I'm definitely noticing, like, young adults,
Mm,
couples, I get this extra lit upness around and there seems to it goes really well and it feels like there's something like maybe if you were to kind of hone in on certain groups to work with, I feel like there's something extra special there that clicks really well. um, but there's also something else that I've felt for years now, and it's I kept hearing there's gonna be this time when the mediumship, like the trance mediumship and horses merge and blend. And it's not like a thought, it's like actually going to happen in the field, in the arena. And I was like, wow, I can't wait to do that. I don't know
mm,
how that's gonna happen. But I was starting to watch the theme of each time have a session with someone and I start watching how they're coming together. And I almost see it like a triangle of like, there's the spiritual, there's the science, and there's the art in it. And so what happens is it's like people show up with their heart. They feel something in them calls them there for whatever reason they're there in that moment. It's like it feels soulful. And then the horse is showing up and then the way the environment and being outside and above the sky, you start feeling the spirit of it. You start tuning your breath, you start listening to the sounds that are near and far and what you're saying. And it all starts again like that duality dissolves and you enter this like innate interconnected oneness that merges. That is part of trans mediumship and spirit. It's that merging. It's that coming close. The fear dissolves and you just
mm,
move into love. So that's happening. But then there's like this science of actually like as you start slowing your breath, as you start relaxing, and the nervous system is relaxing and the breath is slowing down. And all of a sudden, I don't know if you could start to feel that. It's like the air starts to feel a little different.
mhm,
You're entering these alpha waves. And as you keep going, that is a form of altered consciousness of trance. And in that, you're just existing in this field of love and in light. And so that's happening. You're feeling safe. You're feeling supported. You're feeling seen and cared for and nurtured in it, right? And then in that, this dance starts happening that then feels like the art form with the horsemanship, the nonverbal communication, the communication from with the universal language. And it all is happening. And I'm like, wow, I think we're getting close.
it's exciting. Well, I know that we will be excitedly watching as you continue taking the skill set that you came to the Center for Equus Coaching to sort of learn and to bring your original gifts and your talents to it.
Oh, thank you, Travis. If you're given a skill, like God's going to ask you to use it. And I feel
Mhm,
like with this, you guys give us these skill sets, give us all these tools, these ways to actually, do it and be with it. But then through you, through each person, like you're saying, your gift, your joy, your spark gets called out from you. And then that becomes your offering, your gift to the world.
oh,
Yeah.
love it. Now, if other people wanna follow along and see what
Yeah.
you're creating and see what you're doing, how do they find you out there in the world?
I am on Instagram under remembering dot the dot light, but I'm also under there just as Coco Wolf, and then cocowolf.com. It's a rough draft of a website.
Mm.
But it
As
is
most of ours are, and they continue to be updated.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's a starting point, and so, yeah. Mhm.
good. Well, I'll make sure that there are easy ways for people to access that in the description of the video so that they can
Okay.
find you and your work as you continue creating it.
Well, thank you so much, Travis.
Yeah,
Thank
you're so
you.
welcome. Thanks for joining me. If you've been listening to this conversation and you're feeling pulled to this, you want a little joy of being in your job, you can go to equuscoach.com to find out more about the trainings that we offer. So please go to equuscoach.com to find out more. We run cohorts every fall and spring of the standard Equus coaching course. So our next dates will be in the fall. So keep an eye out there for the next training. Thanks again, Coco, for joining me. And
Oh,
until our next episode.
mwah. Thank you.